Hi, my name is Lindsey, and I'm a Middle East analyst here at Stratfor, and I'm joined today by our Vice President of Intelligence, Fred Burton. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about recent kidnappings in Libya and the threat to foreign diplomats in the country. So, Fred, we heard reports yesterday that the Jordanian ambassador to Libya was released after being kidnapped last month. And it seems as though we've had a bit of a recent uptick in kidnappings lately in the country. What's the current threat to foreign diplomats in Libya?
I'm really surprised in light of the kidnapping of the Jordanian ambassador to Libya that there hasn't been more mainstream media coverage. In essence, we've had Tunisian diplomats kidnapped, and with the Jordanian ambassador kidnapped, that's really a big deal. And the lack of coverage of that I do find a bit surprising. I also find it very unusual that the Jordanians allegedly swapped a terrorist that they had in custody for the release of the Jordanian ambassador. I think that's a very bad precedent that has now been set for Libya.
So with that report, we heard that the Libyan terrorist is now going back to Libya. And as you said, this sets a sort of precedent. What can we expect now for the future nature of violence and kidnappings?
Unfortunately, from a threat matrix perspective, the prisoner swap in exchange for the hostage diplomat will do nothing but elevate the threat posture and the surveillance posture for other diplomats that are left behind in Tripoli. And that's the real concern that I have going forward from a protective intelligence perspective.
And we know that Libya has been politically unstable for the past 3 years, contributing to a general sense of lawlessness in certain parts of the country, especially in Benghazi, where we see a lot of this happening. And I know that you did a lot of research on the killing of Christopher Stevens, the U.S. ambassador, in 2012, and it was the topic of your most recent book, Under Fire. Have we really seen any significant bolstering of, security forces, of maybe a curbing of the kidnappings or violence in Libya since that time?
Well, I don't think so. I think that Benghazi remains a public safety and security challenge. This is a city that's ran by militias and criminal enterprises for the most part. There is no semblance of public safety. And I think the more concerning tripwire, again, with the abduction of the Jordanian ambassador to Libya in Tripoli, that takes it to a new level. In essence, if terrorist organizations can come into Libya and operate with impunity in places like Tripoli, that's the real challenge for not only the host government, which at the end of the day is responsible for the protection of all internationally protected persons. And if you cannot protect diplomats, how do you protect citizens at large?
So, Fred, it seems that the militias and the tribes actually have more power in some cases and more control than some of the state-sponsored security apparatus. In a country with such a weak central government and a weak military apparatus, do we see any end in sight for these kidnappings, these acts of violence, assassinations in the country?
Not when you see actions like what the Jordanians did with swapping a terrorist. This is going to do nothing but, in my assessment, embolden the criminal militias and the terrorist organizations to look to potentially kidnap other diplomats to hold hostage or ransom or try to exchange for prisoners. And this is something that we've seen going back to the attack on the Special Mission Compound in Benghazi, where U.S. Ambassador Stevens and Information Officer Smith were killed by fire. So I'm sad to say that I don't see the future on the short term being very bright. Ashley, I'd love to hear your long-term outlook for Libya from the geopolitical standpoint.
Sure. Well, Libya is very much an oil-based economy, and a lot of their revenue is based on what they get from all of their oil exports. And that's the way that the central government can actually try to maintain some semblance of control over these various militias and tribal groups within the country. And so that's very much the top priority right now. And even still, they're having trouble securing some of the eastern ports from the rebels that have sort of been holding out at those positions. And then maybe after that, we'll see the government try to spend more time and attention on tackling the security environment. But it seems like that is something that is not going to be able to be completely locked down for years to come.
So oil's going to drive the show?
Oil's going to drive the show, as it does in most countries, especially in the Middle East. But I think that's about all we have time for, Fred. Thank you for that. And for more minute-by-minute updates and Libya analysis, join us at stratfor.com.